thing in business is to stop making things hard for ourselves. Hello, my name is Greg Story. I'm the president of Dale Carnegie Training here in Japan, and I'm the author of Japan Sales Mastery. I attended a very good presentation very recently, and the speaker, very smart person, very well educated, a very high-tech area of business and a big company, powerful company. And yet there are a couple of things I noticed which were a bit hard to fathom, really. One was, it was hard to hear what they were saying, and the second one was hard to read what they were showing on the screen. Now, there are two fairly fundamental components of a presentation that we really have to get right. Now, the speaker, for whatever reason, chose not to use a lapel mic or a hand mic, but there was a fixed mic on the podium, which is fine if you stand in front of it and you speak over the top of it. Now, with most mic technology advances today, you don't have to hold it right up to your mouth anymore. Just on a podium with a short mic stand, you're speaking over it, it'll capture the sound perfectly. Now, the room was pretty reasonable size, actually, and the audience was fairly large too. Probably beyond the scale of being able to do it without a mic, but the author, because of the way, the speaker, because of the way they did the presentation, they sort of wandered around. They sort of came out from the podium, which is great, come out from the podium. That's fantastic. Use your full body language for the presentation. And they moved across the stage to involve the left side of the audience, right side of the audience, all those sorts of things, all great stuff, except that the mic became disconnected from the speech. So it was quite hard to hear. And I was sitting fairly proximate to the speaker. I wasn't exactly on the table right in front of them, but I was like one table back, so I should be able to hear fairly clearly what's going on. But I struggled a little bit to hear clearly what was going on. So with speaking, always think about your audience. This speaker obviously wasn't thinking about the audience. They were very much involved in what they were doing and how excited they were about their new developments, and there were a lot of very exciting new developments in this talk. Great stuff, if you could hear it. So a lot of the audience was struggling. Those seated behind me, they would have had real difficulty hearing what's going on. The other thing with the slides, now, the slides are a great advantage to really support the words you're using, to bring more information at the same time as you're talking. So they're a good adjunct to the speaker. They shouldn't be a replacement for the speaker, but a good adjunct to the speaker. Except this was one of those sort of cool slide decks, probably someone in the graphics department put together who never does public speaking. And they were pretty cool. They were pretty zen, which I like. I love zen. But I like zen to be in sort of, at least 20 plus font size. They, in some cases, were quite detailed and quite small. Even on a big screen, I liked the diagrams that they were showing, like the sequence flow of things. You had a lot of screen space there, but they didn't choose to use it very well. So you really struggled visually to see what was on that screen. And again, very pared down, very cut down, very nice in that sense. Not too much information on one slide, which is often the danger. People go the other way. They cram everything on the one slide. It wasn't like that. It was zen, very, very minimal, great, but very small. There was one section, one slide, I remember they had a list of things down the left-hand side. You could barely read those. And then they went to the next expansion of that slide to the bit in the middle, which you couldn't read at all. And then there was on the right side a whole list of companies that they were using this particular technology. Could not read it at all, just too small. So there's a bit of a breakdown here between thinking about your audience and presenting information to your audience. I don't think the thinking about the audience part was quite locked away. Brilliant speech, brilliant talk, brilliant content, all good, except that we couldn't hear it and we couldn't very easily see what they were showing, which are fairly, I'd say, fundamental things. So let's think again from an audience viewpoint when we're presenting. Can my audience hear me? If I'm going to wander around, I don't want a mic stand. I want a pin mic, a lapel mic, so I can move around. I want a hand mic, so I can have freedom to move on the stage. If I'm going to show slides to my audience, they have to be clear. They have to be visually clear and minimal, good, but bigger, much bigger in size, so visually much easier to read. We make these mistakes without thinking, because often with very technically oriented people, this is a very, very tech-oriented person who is giving the talk, because it's very high-level technology they're dealing with, they're not thinking about the audience, they're thinking about the technology probably. And technology is great, but if we can't hear it or we can't read it, we're defeating the purpose of communication. So let's, no matter what we're doing, if it's an internal meeting, if it's an external meeting, start with the audience. Who are they? What are they interested in? How can we show them the importance of what we're saying, and how can we make sure they actually hear it and actually see it from us on screen? Let's work on those things, and if we do, we will have much more success as a person of persuasion, carrying our message to our audience.